I can't even find my own live, dude. Where is it? There we go. Okay, so let's see. All right, cool. Just wanted to make sure it's working. All right, so this video or this stream was gonna be a video, but I did not want to bother doing a video. So I'm kind of lazy. This is a lazy video, basically. So today I'm going to be talking about Asmongold and legendary drops because apparently they believe they're right. And I got to make sure that they know they're wrong. All right, so let me start the video right. But now when I find it,
So the
boom.
new Suicide Squad game, I've heard about this game. I heard that this game was so bad that it actually got delayed for how bad it was for them to make it good. But it turns out that if you're cooking a shit pie, the solution to it isn't to finish cooking the pie.
So right off the bat, bullshit, bro. Like apparently games can't go into like review and just determine that, oh man, I need to look into this game and make sure that all the elements are working. Like tons of games got delayed. Like why is it that Suicide Squad gets all this hate? I don't get it. Like even technically, because they push it out way further out. Rockstar with GTA 6, they technically delayed it because who announces a trailer like 2 years in advance and that's the set date that they're planning to drop it or a set year? So I'm just gonna say that like a lot of game studios delay games. It's not that it's so shit that they had to delay it and think about whether or not this is something that they can actually put out.
Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League is dead on arrival, and I can't say it surprises me or anybody else because the writing was on the wall the minute they announced the game. Now, with that said, I want to talk about some of the hate surrounding the game. I want to talk about
And that's very true. Like I'm not gonna dispute when I looked at this game, like officially when it like showed up on the DC fandom like a few years ago, I personally didn't really find the game that interesting. I'm not gonna lie. I wanted another Batman Arkham, or if they were to do it, maybe a an Arrow game because they've been teasing Arrow for a good minute, but we didn't get that.
a little bit of the criticisms that some people have had. But more than anything, I want to talk about how we can avoid things like this in the future, because if we don't, we're going to see the loss of some of our favorite franchises, and a lot of people are going to be without a job. Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg writes, last month in Los Angeles, video game journalists got to play a few hours of the upcoming Suicide Squad game from Warner Brothers. This week, they published previews, and the results weren't pretty. I left the preview feeling less optimistic than I came in, wrote IGN's Destin Liguri. Eurogamer lamented, this might not be the superhero fantasy you were looking for. Negativity has long surrounded Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League, which comes out on February 2nd, in part because the franchise is underperformed, but mostly because the game is illustrative of the type of trend chasing that has led to a lot of heartbreak.
This is also bullshit. Like, I mean, I guess you can say trend chasing, but when people say this, they're not really thinking about like the fact that it's maybe copying some elements from other previous games and applying it towards their game and making it better. They're just thinking of it as a game that's just copying it for money, which all game studios do that, but just bare minimum, I gotta say, if they're doing this, it's not just for money, it's because they believe they can make a product that's better than other probable game studios. I'm just saying.
Over the years, Rocksteady
I think the problem is that the game, like, if I look at the gameplay there, it doesn't look good. Like, fundamentally, what is the difference between this and Remnant 2? Well, Remnant 2 is a better game. It doesn't matter about, like, the style of the game. It just sucks.
Studios, the London-based developer behind the game, was once an industry darling thanks to its critically acclaimed Batman Arkham series, which revolutionized superhero games with innovative gameplay and original stories rather than movie tie-ins. Then the company had announced that it had pivoted from narrative single-player action games to a third-person multiplayer shooter, dismaying fans. I've always had this
It's also because it's fucking stupid. Like, am I the only person who thinks that there's nobody in the Suicide Squad that can beat Superman? They can't beat the Green Lantern. They can't beat Aquaman. They can't beat Wonder Woman. Like, there's no way. It's fucking impossible.
That's the point of the story. That's literally the Suicide Squad. They're the backup just in case the Suicide Squad ever went rogue. I mean, the Justice League ever went rogue. Like, even if you don't read comics, this has happened multiple times across multiple shows, movies. Like, this is not uncommon. They're set up as a backup, a failsafe if the Justice League ever went rogue. Like, I don't understand. Like, bruh. Just say you're not a DC fan. Just say that. Just say you don't get it. And just give up and just say, like, I don't get it, but it's a game. DC fans will like it.
So how can you possibly kill the Justice League besides maybe Batman and probably even
Batman you can kill with a bullet. Superman you can kill with a kryptonite bullet. Apparently they have a way to take down the Flash with Speed Force bullets. Green Lantern, kill with a bullet as well. There you go. Wonder Woman, that's probably gonna be the most trickier one because she's actually has those bands to just send those bullets flying back at you. But I mean, technically, she could die by a bullet too. Like, they all could die by a bullet.
Batman can clear them because he's basically got a superpower. He's a fucking billionaire. Meanwhile, like, you've got Harley Quinn, who has a baseball bat. There's a guy who's a walking shark. And then Deadshot, you know, the guy Will Smith played, oh, he's really good at shooting guns. Like, what is this? It's just like such a ridiculous fucking thing to even have as a premise of a story. It's so stupid.
Between superhero video game and a game that just so happens to be about superheroes. And I feel like the latter is the one that Rocksteady Studios always leaned on because it felt like they made a game first that just so happened to be about Batman. And it was something that really resonated with people because they made such a great game in the first place. They ended up building this really strong audience, this really strong following. However, now we have Warner Brothers wanting to come in and exploit all of that goodwill so that they can try to pull in all those
I swear, like, it's two companies here. You think it's just WB involved saying, like, hey, you guys have to make this game? They could literally just quit. Everyone in the studio could just quit and just say, we're not making this game. Like, it's not just WB. Rocksteady wanted to make this game as well.
Microtransaction live service.
I mean, the first game that they wanted to make, allegedly, I mean, there are rumors about it, and I think they kind of proved it, but they wanted to make a Superman game first, which everybody wanted that. And I'm not disputing that if they had brought that out instead of Suicide Squad, they would have made probably more money at this point. And far more excitement.
Because that's exactly what the situation is. It's trend chasing.
Well, I think that like the Suicide Squad game, it's like one of those things that is an example of everything wrong with games. Like if you look at what do people think is wrong with games, it's like the old meme of Battle Pass, established franchise, mediocre gameplay, looter shooter, seasons, always online, like skins, like it's everything in one.
You're absolutely right on this. And this is something that we've seen across the industry for a while now, but it's deeper than that. It's not just a surface level thing where people want to be Fortnite, they want to be Call of Duty, they want to be all these live service games that are making all of this money. No, it actually goes beyond that. The core root of this issue is that who are you making these games for? It doesn't make a lot of sense to...
They're making it for DC fans. They're making this game for DC fans, people who like Superman, people who like Batman, people who like Harley Quinn, people who like Deadshot, people who like The Flash. Like, what are you talking about? Now, are we playing as those characters, as like the Justice League? I don't know. They haven't said yes or no to really to it, to my understanding. Like, I haven't seen anything to them saying no. So it's possible at the end game that we get to play as them, or we just don't get to play them. We don't know. I'm leaning towards that it's a no, because if we were, they probably would have just went with that and show that off, so people would just get off their back.
Look at the audience that Rocksteady has built over this time and say, oh, well, yeah, we're going to make
Well,
them
they probably are informed by like, and this is the problem, is that people, like, they have like these like focus groups and consulting firms and all of these groups of people that are supposed to like educate them on what the public thinks. And it's like, it's nice to have that kind of stuff, but you shouldn't use that as an actual decision maker. Whereas I think they are. I think they're looking at, like, you have people that are making these decisions that don't play video games, and then they're like, oh yeah, this is what we need to have. No, you don't.
looter shooter.
None of them play the game, yeah.
What? How do you know that that audience even plays those games to begin with, especially when historically the games that they have been purchasing from you are single player action games?
Okay, so this makes no sense. The audience of a developer is very wide. GTA is one of the biggest games in the world, right? Fortnite, same thing. At the very least, someone's probably going to want to test said game, even if you are only into like strategy games or racing games. So to say that your audience, your base audience who already picks up Batman Arkham City or Arkham Knight, and they will not come back ever to this game because they look at it and they think it's trash, that's a bald-faced lie. Especially if they played the alpha, they probably know this game is fun. Or if they did play and they didn't like the alpha, at least now they know that this game is not for them. Maybe they'll watch the cutscenes on the internet, or maybe they'll play the game when it's like cheaper, just so they can get that experience. But at the base level, they're gonna get someone to buy this game because there is an audience.
It doesn't really make a lot of sense. And this is something that we've seen throughout the
It's, again,
industry.
yeah, it's just trend chasing. Yeah, like, you know, just putting all of the buzzwords together.
Time and time again. Redfall is another example, a perfect example of this, because they're going to mirror each other, not only in their sales, but also in the downfall of the.
No, Redfall had so many bugs. Redfall had so many bugs, bro. Avengers had so many bugs. That is why when people picked up those games, it wasn't for them. Redfall was in Game Pass as well, so there is no reason for it not to be successful. If you have a game that's basically free, basically $14.99 at most, because you were paying for a subscription, or I believe it's $17.99, whatever. I think the price went up, but whatever. If you have a game that's a part of a subscription service and no one's playing it, that tells a story, bro. That tells you that this game was boring. That tells you that there were so many things going on with this game that didn't iron out when they were making this game. And the problem with Microsoft, a lot of Microsoft games, to be fair, like Halo had this issue, is that they will make the game, release it, and then there's missing content. The game is buggy. I'm trying to think of another issue, bro. But there's so many issues with the game that they don't fix until like months, possibly years with Halo, and then now the game is playable. So that is the reason why Redfall failed and why Suicide Squad may not have that issue, because to every gameplay that we've seen, like from the alpha that I played and from the gameplay that they actually officially released, but to be fair, that's a little bit biased because that's gameplay that's directly sourced from Rocksteady. But we haven't seen any bugs. We haven't seen rubber banding. We haven't seen people falling out of the world. We haven't seen dips or disconnections out of the game. So what are you talking about, bro?
Game as well, because who was Redfall made for? Who was asking Arcane out of all studios to be making a vampire looter shooter?
Well,
You don't need to ask people for a game, bro. You don't need to, like, people are asking for a Blade game, but we appreciate it when it's made. People aren't asking for an indie game, but when it happens, it happens. People aren't asking for I forget the name of that, Avowed. Like, people didn't ask for Avowed from Obsidian because we didn't know it exists, and they made it. So what are you talking
the
about?
problem with Redfall is that the game was bad. I actually don't think the premise of the game is the problem. I don't.
This is the only part that Asmongold actually got right, but yeah.
I think that the game is just bad. It's the same as like Gollum. Like, could Gollum have been good? I don't know if it could have ever been good, but it damn well could have been a lot better than it was. Hell no. Well, like, if you wanted to make a good Gollum game, you would have to make it like a psychological, like, horror game that's almost like a visual novel. Like, I think that's the only way you could make a good Gollum game.
That's basically Senua. That's Senua Heb. That's basically Hellblade, bro. Okay. I mean, yeah, technically that would have probably been a better Gollum game.
And it's like, that'd be cool. Yeah, that could maybe be interesting. But, and then, like, this is my point, right? It's the problem is not necessarily the premise of the game. The problem is the implementation of that premise. Because at the bottom of every single game, like Redfall or the Suicide Squad, the gameplay fundamentally is dog shit. I don't see a lot of these games that get panned and everybody's making videos.
And I don't think Asmongold has played the game, so he's basing that off of visuals. He's looking at the game and he's saying, it's dog shit. Play the game first before you say something like that. That doesn't make any sense, my guy.
About how bad they are whenever the gameplay fundamentally is good.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Even if the game turns out to be better than earlier previews suggest, it won't be what many Arkham fans want from Rocksteady. Suicide Squad is an online live service game with cosmetic...
Bro, no one wanted this game. That's true. Let's get over it. No one asked for this game. Let's go over it. Let's get over it. This game is still fun. These two statements, they're still true, bro. I didn't want a Suicide Squad game. I wanted a Superman game. But at the end of the day, we got this, and I played a little bit of it, and I thought it was fun. Now, what's the problem here?
Microtransactions
Wow, I've never
and a
heard that.
stream of content that will continue after the launch as Warner Brothers attempts to chase the Grand Theft Auto 5 and Fortnite dragons.
And that's really the problem. It's that they're making decisions on design based off of something that...
Bro, pretty much every game that, well, I wouldn't say like their very first game and also Arkham Asylum, but pretty much every game that has released with Rocksteady technically has been live service, right? Live service, you have the base game and you have a season pass that adds on additional content. That's literally Arkham City and Arkham Knight. So players don't want additional skins to play as Batman. Players don't want additional challenge modes to play. Like, that's not the issue here. People are tired of playing games like Fortnite because there's so many sweaties on there. I don't want to jump into Fortnite and get my ass handed to me by a 10-year-old play with a Goku skin, bro. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't want to get off work, hop into Fortnite, and just get my ass handed to me.
that isn't even theirs. Like, whenever you're using another game or like another type of game as a North Star, rather than looking at like, how can I make my game like the best version of what it's supposed to be, then you're going to have a problem. Like, here's a really great example. Think about how much worse Baldur's Gate 3 would be if it was a real-time action combat game like Elden Ring or like Dark Souls. I guarantee you it probably would not even be a fraction.
Bro, that doesn't even make any sense, bro. Oh my god. Like, take example, Spider-Man, like, it's basically copying Arkham. In every review, people are saying Marvel Spider-Man is basically like Arkham. I don't understand what you're talking about here. In any creative like in a world where people are be creative, right? We are taking things from different sources. Like, what are you talking about? The base level of a game, like Spider-Man, is like literally if you played Spider-Man 2, it's stealing from multiple sources. Like if you see the game, it's stealing from Web of Shadows, it's stealing from a little bit from movies like Spider-Verse, and then it's stealing the idea of like the combat from Batman. Like this is something that's common. All they've done is put a new fresh coat of paint on it. Like I don't know what you're talking about, dude.
As good as it was. But because they had their own North Star, they were making the game their way, and the game was fucking amazing. And at least I've heard. I haven't played it before you guys fucking stop. Like, I will play it eventually, just not yet. But anyway, same with Dark Souls 1. Same with Elden Ring. The reason why these games... Look at Armored Core 6. Armored Core 6.
All of those games have pretty much the same combat. They're basically the same game. And you know, the crazy thing about it is that when you think about studios who make games, they don't always make the same game. So it's very stupid for you to believe that Rocksteady should only be making Arkham games, right? When you look at Naughty Dog, they made Uncharted and they made Last of Us. But if we look a little bit further back, they have a little bit of a franchise or a little known franchise that you may have heard of that they refused to make a sequel for. Jak and Daxter. Like, studios can make completely different games. Even Spider-Man, like Insomniac, they've made Sunset Overdrive. They've made Ratchet and Clank. They made another 360 game that I can't remember, and I can't even find it. They probably don't even sell it anymore. But Insomniac has made games that are not even connected to each other. So why is it that Rocksteady is being beaten over the head for deciding to make Batman Arkham and then switching, but connecting it to the same universe, but making it a spin-off game of said universe and making it a shooter? The reason why people are mad about this is because they waited 10 years or almost 10 years for a game that they had an idea of. They thought this was going to be the next Batman game. They thought we're going to get a Superman game. And instead, we got a Suicide Squad game. And people aren't happy about that. That's the only reason.
Doesn't have any of this bullshit. It's just an Armored Core game. Look at Sekiro. Like, these are games that are good on their own. And, like, of course they're informed by other games in the industry, but they're not trying to be other games in the industry. That's the issue.
These games as a service, which are monetized long after release, are so appealing to executives that Warner Brothers Discovery Inc. CEO David Zaslav recently said all their big games would follow.
Let me go back to what he said. The only time that's ever been true what he's talking about is with Halo. Halo went from a rated M game to a rated T game to compete with Destiny, and then they switched their title from just Halo 4 and then Halo 5 to Halo 5 Guardians. They're literally competing with every game studio. They go from Halo 5 to Halo Infinite, and Halo Infinite is supposed to be somewhat in line with Fortnite, basically, because it's like a free-to-play game now with the online mode. So that's the only time when you say this, it's true. This game is a game that Rocksteady is still proud of making. Even though they probably wanted to make a Superman game, they're still proud of making this game because they still kept the M rating. Just look at that. If this was just a single a just a cash grab, then this game would have went from rated M to rated T for teens. And if possible, just get it as close to the bottom as a rated E game, and the game wouldn't even be called Suicide Kill Anything, because parents are gonna want to pick up a game that doesn't say suicide or kill anything, bro. They're not gonna want to pick up any game like that. So, like, look at that. Just look at that and just think, and you'll realize that what you're saying isn't true.
Suit moving forward. We have seen so
What's
many
this here?
stupidly said
Games as a service, which are monetized long after release, are still appealing. The executive Warner Bros. Said that all their big games are follow suit. It's not like games, live service games. I think this is the problem that live service games have, is that it's very hard for every game in the ecosystem to exist as a live service game. It's
All right, quick. I just explained this earlier. Game as a service has been something that Rocksteady has been doing for a minute. By that logic, when you read that, you buy the base game. Maybe if you wanted to, you buy the season pass in addition to that, because they had season pass in the past, right? And you'll get skins, you'll get challenge modes. That was already there in the beginning. So when David Zaslav says something like that, that's not something that's really anti what gamers want, because we do want more challenge mode. We do want to pay for more content that allows us to play this game more. Now, if it's free, hell yeah, I don't want to pay for that shit. I want to get that shit for free. But if they're putting a price tag on it and it's something that I actually want to play, or it's a skin that I want, then people are not going to be like, oh, I don't want that. Like, if the Batman Beyond skin is, let's say this was a brand new Batman game and they were selling a brand new Beyond skin, people would buy that. That's game as a service.
okay to have one or two live service games, but whenever every single game is a live service game, there's like a sense of exhaustion that sets in, because it's like, okay, I have to do this, like this game, and then I have to play this game and keep up with this thing, and then I have to, make sure I do my battle pass for this, and like,
Most people, when they play these live service games, aren't doing that. They're just sticking to like one game. Like, if you're playing Fortnite, you're probably not playing Apex. Maybe if you're really bored, you may switch it up, but for the most part, you're sticking with one game. They're not expecting you to switch from this game to another unless they have something that they really think that you would like. Apex doesn't have a story. Fortnite, I mean, from my knowledge, because I haven't played those games in a minute, they don't have a story. So for the most part, this is going to sell based on the fact that this is a DC property and that it has a story to it. It's not just like, oh, we'll jump in and we're playing this together as friends and we make our story together. It's a story-based online game, right, that you could play offline if you wanted to, and it has live service elements because you can buy additional story modes. Like, I don't see that as a problem.
that's what it is, right? It's like exhausting. So like people end up like falling out of the loop of playing the game, and what ends up happening, I think, also is that people get like battle passes and these like daily login rewards and everything. They keep people in the loop in the ecosystem of the game, but they also keep people out of it. Because how many of you guys have played a live service game and you were playing every day and you were keeping up, and then for whatever reason, you missed a day or two? And then you played it maybe 1 or 2 days after that, and then you just stopped playing the game. There it is. Because the FOMO acts as a barrier.
That's true. This is true. I'm not going to dispute that. But that doesn't mean that this is this game. Like, if I'm playing, and we could go back again to Arkham City and Arkham Knight, where like you have the challenge modes and you have the leaderboard that you compete with friends on, and then you come back and you see that they beat you by like maybe 5 or 50 or 100 points, and now you want to get back in there, grind, and make your way back up. again, that's something that Rocksteady has been doing for a minute. And when we look at what he's like directly talking about, yes, that happens. But if you look at what they offer, which is if you play this game with friends and you come back in and you're like way behind, you can pass over your character to your friend and they could play those modes for you so that you can build up your character so that you don't have to wait. But at the end of the day, you don't have to do that. And if you want to play from wherever you're at all the way up to where they're at, that's great.
Barrier to entry. Because it's like, okay, well, now I'm behind. Because you think about it, right? FOMO is psychologically designed to appeal to players who care about progression. Because if you don't care about progression, FOMO doesn't affect you because who gives a fuck? So if you care about progression and you know that you're behind, you don't want to play a game that you're behind in.
All their big games would follow suit moving forward.
Yeah.
We have seen so many studios close over the last few years. We've seen so many layoffs over the last couple of years, even starting into this year. And while some of that has to do with the rise of AI or just general bloat in the tech industry, it goes...
Nah, the real reason for those closures is because companies are evil and they want to cut the bottom line as much as possible. Like, that's pretty much the reason. Even if they need those people, they're going to cut it down a little bit more just so they can save a little penny. Like, that's the only reason they do that.
Beyond that, because what it ends up actually being is, well, executives like David Zaslav that believe that they can just go and chase these Fortnite and Grand Theft Auto dollars. But that's not how this works. You have to already have a franchise, or you have to have had something that's already bringing these people in to be.
This is a DC game. It is a franchise. What are you talking about?
Again,
Fortnite plays really well. Suicide Squad doesn't. I've watched gameplay, and that right there is the bottom line.
You haven't played it! Oh my god, bro. Fortnite plays very well. Suicide Squad, I seen it, it doesn't. Bro, come on, make it make sense. What are you talking about? You haven't played it. Play the game first before you say that stupid shit.
Grand Theft Auto plays well. That's the real...
You played Grand Theft Auto. You have not played Suicide Squad. Connect the two, bro. Connect the two brain cells.
issue. And it's the hardest problem to solve.
You have to have a target audience. It's basic marketing 101.
This is a DC game. It is already a established franchise. There are movies, video games, comics, like little kids' underwears, sheets. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And they don't have one. They just think, well, if we make the live service, they come. No, that's not how this works. And even if you did make a good live service game, if you're not positioning that properly for your target audience, the regular customers that gave you the money that put that studio...
You know what this kind of reminds me of now that he's talking about it in this way? It reminds me of how certain streamers feel like they have to play a popular game. Oh, well, I have to play this popular game because if I don't play this popular game, like, I need to play all the new games. I need to play Among Us. I need to play Fortnite.
That seems like your problem. That, like, what? Your average player is going to want to play because they find it fun. That's not... The average person isn't a streamer, so I don't know, whatever.
I need to play Lethal Company. I need to play Call of Duty. And they're constantly trying to chase a trend, and they'll just never be successful because they don't even understand what makes the people successful in those markets. It's like basically by trying to do it, you indicate that you should never succeed.
In the place that it is today, you're still not going to succeed. Why? Because it's brand loyalty.
Right.
People are loyal to the things that they are. That's as simple as that. The people that play Grand Theft Auto 5 likely are the people that played Grand Theft Auto 4, Grand Theft Auto 3, probably not 2. I played 2.
Speaking of Grand Theft Auto.
Over the head game.
Yeah.
Makes me feel old when I say that. But with that said, if you don't know who your target audience is and you're not positioning your products properly to make sure that they are resonating with that audience, then you're just not going to do well. And for the fact that these people are so disconnected from their audiences, that they don't know their needs nor care about them and think that they're going to be able to just go and make...
What does an Arkham player want? They want more DC games. They kind of wanted a Superman game, or not kind of, they definitely wanted one, but we got a Suicide Squad game. We would accept any DC game. For the past 8 years, we were like dying. We only had Injustice. That's what we were surviving off of. We were surviving off Injustice and Return to Arkham. We were surviving off of what was the other game? That Telltale Batman game. That's what we were like really we were struggling. So now we got a AAA game and it's Suicide Squad and we didn't really want it, but we're going to play it anyway. Like that's just us.
them sweet microtransaction dollars.
Well, this is the problem, right? Is that they don't understand why people like the games. Because if you don't understand why people enjoyed the games, you can never make a game that people will like.
Bro, what? We had 3 Arkham games from Rocksteady, and each game got better and better and better. They kept adding. Like, when we were, from the very jump, wanted the Batmobile, and then we got it in the 3rd game, everyone was excited. Although, that's the one thing I did not like about that game. But yeah, that was it. That was our game.
You can never actually solve the problem because you don't even understand what it is. And this is what happens with certain streamers too. Is it like you go back and you look at like how many streamers were really popular from Among Us, or they were really popular from Fortnite, and now they're like fucking irrelevant. Nobody cares about them. Nobody watches them. The reason why that is because they didn't understand why people liked watching them. And they weren't able to continue to create that kind of content. Yeah, 20 viewer Andes. Yeah, they didn't have anything beyond the game. No, they didn't. And it's like that's the problem that a lot of these games have too. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of what makes something popular and what makes, what you're doing good or not good. Like for me, I one of the reasons why I don't really play a lot of like very guided games unless they're like kind of an experience type game like the Coffin of Andy and Laylee game is because people like watching me for just like hearing me talk about stuff and seeing like takes on games and like random shit. People aren't watching me to see somebody who's really good at a video game. So I'm not trying to ever go and prove myself. Like I'm not going to go try to be...
Bro, you're comparing yourself to a multi-million-dollar studio that has actual IP. And you are just responding or reacting to said IP or other IPs. Yes, you have to be within the niche that you're in, but they really don't need to.
The hardest version of a game to prove it to everybody that I can do it. Because even if I win, I still lose. Because nobody cared in the first place. So whenever I realized that, I completely changed my outlook on how I would do streaming. And guess what? It massively helped my stream. Because you have to understand what people like. Like Remnant? Well, I played Remnant a lot off stream. I think I'm on the last boss of the game now. I've almost beaten it. Above average new Monster Hunter player. Oh, I mean, I'm saying like being an above average new player is fine, but like I'll give you an example. Is it something that people would really want to see, to watch me spend 9 hours wiping and relearning Arc-Tempered Velkhana? Probably not. And also, some people would. But there are a lot of other people that would want to see me play another game even more, because there's always going to be some people that like seeing that, but there's also going to be a lot of people who don't. Depends on if it's entertaining. Yeah, exactly.
Bro, that you're defeating your own argument. Like, people don't, some people want to see you make the same thing, and some people want to see you make new content. That's literally, oh my God, okay.
You are going to be sorely, sorely surprised when you find out you can't. Schreier continues with, but the track record for companies that pivot to multiplayer is dismal. Recent live service flops like Anthem, Redfall, and Marvel's Avengers all came from game studios that had previously been beloved for their single.
Bro, I hate when people bring up Anthem. Oh my God. Anthem had no content. Oh my. Whoever brings up Anthem and Suicide Squad in the same sentence, you need to be thrown off a building in Minecraft. What are you talking about, bro? Anthem, oh my God, Anthem was such a shit game, and I pre-ordered that because I played the gameplay and I thought, whoa, this is fun. And then when I started it and I was going through it, there was nothing else there. Like, there was nothing else in Anthem. So let me just say that you're aware that Anthem, the reason why it failed is because it had no content. The loading screen was so freaking long that by the time it finished loading, you already gave up or you probably died. Like, oh my God, that makes no sense. Oh my God, that makes no sense. And Redfall, again, that's a buggy mess. This game is on Game Pass, dude. And no one is picking it up to play. Make that make sense. A game that you basically do not have to pay any extra money for, and no one's playing it. Because the game is buggy. Marvels, when it first dropped, buggy. I think they may have fixed it. I haven't even completed Marvels. I couldn't really get through it because it was boring to me. And I'm not super like a super Marvel fan that I would like stick around and play it. But it was a boring game. Those are the reasons why those games failed. The story wasn't even compelling either. You don't hear anybody saying, whoa, Marvel's Avengers had a great story. But all these reviewers who left when they did the preview for 5 hours, they're like, wow, this story is funny, it's fun, it's interesting. Even Destin was like, or whatever his name, yeah, it's Destin. He was like upset about the idea that there's a bomb in Ivy's head. That is a good writer. Like, they are actually compelling people to stick to the story, stick to the game.
Player titles. Nobody wants Suicide Squad to suffer the same.
Why are Harley Quinn's boobs so small? Who thought of this?
Blasphemy. I agree with that. Down with whoever designed that. Those things should be as big as they need to be.
What idiot thought this up? I'll tell you a problem right now. That's an issue right now, gentlemen. Like, what is that? Face is shit too. Yeah, just make her really hot. Like, why do you think people...
Okay, I disagree with the idea that she's not hot because a lot of this game is based off the Suicide Squad from back in 2016, I want to say, right? You could see the resemblance of this Harley Quinn with Margot Robbie. She looks, at least maybe my eyes are shit, but she looks very similar to Margot. And obviously Deadshot is based off Will Smith, and Boomerang not really, and King Shark not really anyone, but yeah.
like Harley Quinn? Like, what are you, fucking stupid? What is this?
Fate. No wonder this weekend that following the previews, fans continue to repeat a rumor that won't die, that the developers at Rocksteady had originally pitched a game about Superman, which was rejected by Warner Brothers, and the company was instead forced to make this one. In reality, Rocksteady never pitched or worked on a Superman game, according to people familiar with the company's strategy over the last decade. Following the release.
The other problem I think that they have with Superman is that I don't think that people portray Superman in the right way. I think that the two best like adjacent versions of Superman are it's too OP. Well, it's not that it's too OP. I think one example, of course, is like Tommen in Game of Thrones. Tommen is a very good boy. He's a nice guy. And bad things happen because he's unwilling to be an asshole. Like, you know that fucking guy from, who was it? The guy that looked like Pope Francis. The High Sparrow. You think that guy would have tried that shit around Joffrey? Or Tywin? Absolutely fucking not. He'd be up on a stake. And so, and it's like there's a part of you that wishes like, oh man, I wish these horrible characters were still around because they could get rid of this even worse character. And I think the other example I can use is Jonathan Joestar in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, is that you should base Superman off of Jonathan Joestar, somebody with a sterling.
I can't stand the Superman slander. They think they know what they're talking about. Like, when we take a look at what happened in Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, people just don't understand what he was setting up. Like, look at the world that we're living in right now, where people are like, they will get upset of the most mundane thing. Like, imagine if Superman were to go save like a feminist. Like, think of that. That's what you're gonna be running into. You're dealing with people who are so obsessed with themselves and they can't even like just thank you. Oh, you saved my life. No, they'll go ahead and be like, oh, this guy touched my ass. Superman would get canceled in this universe, in our world.
Character, universally good, fights only for truth, justice, and to protect people. And like they always try to make Superman a morally gray character. In my opinion, Superman isn't a morally gray character. And that's what makes him special. So like the moment that you start doing that is the moment you diverge completely from like what the story really is.
Superman is in a world filled with people who are just anti him. That's what it is. Or not even just anti him, they're not used to someone like him, someone who's willing to self-sacrifice himself. Like, he would die for you, like Jesus. But and you wouldn't do the same for him, but he would still at the end of the day get up and still do it all over again.
Evil. Well, he's not human. Yeah, but he basically is though, right? And so I think that he should be like that. And he's not from Earth. Yeah. And it's like, well, I mean, you could take the approach, right? Because you're talking about that, like the Beyond Good and Evil Dr. Manhattan approach. I don't agree with that with Superman. I think that's clearly not what the character is supposed to be. It's like an idealized version of like what a man can be. And so, yeah, I think that's the problem that they have, is that people are very, I think that Western studios are very bad at writing like just completely lawful good characters, because they always have to add in some degree of gray or negativity. And I think that makes the character stupid. Whereas, like, I think a good example, how many of you guys that watched JoJo's Bizarre Adventure were like, you were mad at the beginning that Jonathan did not call Dio out and just beat the fucking shit out of him right early on, tell his dad, and completely kick this guy out. And the reason why is because he wanted to give him a chance. He wanted to try to do, and like, and again, the fact that he was trying to be such a good person created these bad outcomes. So you don't need to have every good character have a shade of gray in them, because good characters exist in a bad world, and that creates its own problems in itself. You don't.
That's literally Man of Steel. That's literally Batman v Superman. That's bro, that's what it was. This is why I can't stand people. Like, they will say all this stuff and then look at Man of Steel and look at Batman v Superman and be like, "Oh man, that movie sucked." 'Cause you're stupid.
You don't need to do that. And so that's what makes a good story. It's genius writing. It is. It's brilliant writing. And so that's, I think, the other problem that they have is that the characters are just not written very well. Straight up. I just don't think they're written very well. The Sin of Pride character in Seven Deadly Sins is peak character design. Escanor, he absolutely is. He's fucking amazing. Yeah, he's by far the coolest character. It's not even a question.
Release of Arkham Knight in 2015, the studio began working on a Batman VR game and then an unannounced multiplayer game set in the original franchise, which has not been previously reported. Another notable entry from Schreier says that the really bad news for Rocksteady is that the market is dangerously oversaturated. Even if the new Suicide Squad game overcomes low expectations and turns out to be a fantastic product, it's hard to imagine a new multiplayer live service game succeeding in an era where even stalwarts like Destiny can't seem to grow. And there's a lot.
I don't think it needs to grow. I mean, it obviously needs to make money, but if it has at least at the bare minimum like 100,000 sales, it should make its money back, especially if word of mouth gets to like other people and people continue to buy it because they're like, oh man, this game is interesting, and they try it out for a lower cost. Like, I don't see that as an issue.
A lot to say.
One of the reasons why I don't play Destiny is because Destiny 2 has gone through like 8 years of FOMO, and I don't want to have to figure all of it out. Like, if Destiny 3 came out, I would play it on release. But the game is just too over-designed. There's too much to it. I don't even know how to buy the game. I'm not going to play it. It's too much, man.
And one of the things that I'm
It's
seeing
like,
that a lot
WoW.
of these
I think that's
studios
the
are
way-
having an issue with is
The
that
way
they
I feel
don't-
about Destiny is I think the way a lot of people feel about WoW. They're like, oh, I don't want to start playing the game, bro. Like, there's like 6 expansions, 9 expansions, some shit like that. And like, I just can't deal with it.
realize that
That's
there
the
is
main
a
reason.
level of investment that comes with players that are playing live service games to begin with. If
Yeah.
you think you're capturing a new live service audience, people that haven't played live service games before, you're wrong, because most of those people that aren't playing live service games are avoiding them on purpose. That's the reason why they're playing games like the Batman Arkham series or something like that. Now, with that said, think about that level of investment that's required for these players to be in games like Grand Theft Auto 5, Destiny, or Fortnite. Because
Well,
many
and
of those
also a lot of people have been critical of Rockstar for how they've handled Grand Theft Auto 5. Like, people are not happy about that. They're not happy about how they said that like Red Dead Redemption 2, like the online for that game is like kind of, you know, like what the fuck. And so, and I don't really know a lot about this. I'm hearing all of this secondhand. So I could be a little bit wrong or off the, off the focus here, but this is what I hear from people that play the game a lot. And so I don't even think that's entirely true. And that's Grand Theft Auto, one of the biggest video game franchises of all time.
players are probably not going to come and play your game because they're already financially
Invested
and
in another
invested
game.
with their own interests in those other games.
Nope. Doubt it.
That's right.
You're really unlikely to pull them across to yours with all of this busy work. Got to play every single day. Got to get that login bonus.
Yeah.
Got to farm up these currencies and things like that.
Doubt it.
It's really difficult to get a live service game off the ground, and it's a huge gamble to do so in the first place.
It's very exhausting. And like, I'll actually give props to MiHoYo, right? Because with they added this thing, like, you know, like a lot of these like gotcha online games have some sort of play the game every day, and you have like a certain amount of energy that you can have in the game, and if you don't use the energy, you lose it. Well, they have something now where it's like rested energy, and the rested energy stacks up to like 10 days or 15 days or something like that. So like, if you stop playing the game for a long period of time, you can come back and catch up pretty quickly.
I just brought this up. This is a feature that's in Suicide Squad. I mean, it's not directly similar to that, but you can have your friends play as your character for you and level you up.
And a lot of other games don't have stuff like this. Stacks to 1,000? No, I think it stacks to 2.4K, which is 10 days. Let's get back to it.
It's even more a gamble when you're doing it with a studio that's known for products that are mostly single player. You're not appealing to that audience. Those players do not want to.
Single player mode is available in this game. You do not have to play online technically. Even though it's not an offline mode game, you don't have to play online with friends.
Play this game. This isn't the game that interests them. You're aiming for an audience that you don't even have yet in a market that's oversaturated with people that are invested in other games. It blows
It is true, but I actually think that none of this would matter. I do. I think that if the Suicide Squad game came out and it was really good, the progression systems were really good, the gunplay was awesome, and like the abilities you had were great, people would play it. I do. I think it's actually that simple. I think the game looks like shit.
Meanwhile, he has not played the game, so how would he know?
It it's just that fucking simple. Like, it's about the market, like, bro, it's the market, and like get battle passes. No, bro, like, look at the game. It looks like shit. Yeah, it does. I don't want to play it. That's it. That's the whole thing. Why didn't Rocksteady just make another great Batman game? I don't know.
My mind. How do these people even have jobs? And the worst part is, these are the same folks that,
True.
at the end of the day, if the game fails, who's going to get laid off?
The developers.
It's definitely not the executives. It's definitely not the...
People are going to get laid off regardless in this game. Even if this game is a success, they're going to still fire people. That's just the way of the game. Studios do not really care about keeping as many people as possible. They're going to see it's making X amount of money. How can we streamline that and make it more money with less work? They're going to do that regardless.
The people that are on the board, it's not the CEO.
Yeah.
No.
Which, to be fair,
Like, PlayStation is making profit, right? Let's just make that like aware, right? They're making profit, and yet they still went across the board to make sure every studio that they had underneath them was laying off people. Bungie was laying off people. Insomniac was laying off people. Like, how does that make sense if you have studios that are making you money, like making you a decent amount of money, unless you're trying to streamline it and cut like costs even lower?
that did happen with Unity, which was a huge W.
The designers.
Even some of the board members
It's
got
the developers.
removed.
They'll be the ones to blame. The studio is the one that is going to suffer the most as a result of this. And that's really sad to see, especially from a studio that has done such great work for quite a while now. But they've worked for over half a decade on a live service game that it's just not going to work. So somebody is going to suffer the consequences of that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it definitely isn't going to be the people in charge.
Some of them, I'm sure it will be, but not all of
I
them.
think one of the things that bothers me about this when I read stories like this or I see games like this come out,
The problem is that people who are making decisions for where to steer the ship for making video games don't play them. One thing that is extremely reassuring to me.
That's very untrue when it comes to Rocksteady and Rockstar and like other studios, right? At the very most, the very top head of the entire publishing studio for Rocksteady, right? They probably don't play games, and they think this is a better way to make money, right? But Rocksteady, the heads, they play the game. I mean, until they left. But even now, whoever is in charge right now, they play games. So that's not true.
Whenever I'm hearing Microsoft is buying Blizzard, is that you hear Phil Spencer, and it is also equally unreassuring because of how many hours he put into Starfield. But Phil Spencer plays a lot of video games. And because he plays a lot of video games, I have a better expectation that he will know what will be good for video games. Fucking imagine that.
There's this fundamental misunderstanding between what the players want, what the players need, and how to be able to service them properly so that you can make a profit. I realize that a lot of these companies want to get these live service games. Cool. Get your money. But do it in a way that you're actually going to be able to service an audience in the first place. It doesn't make a lot of sense to do otherwise. And by the way, this is the same kind of people that believe that RPG games are dead, that turn-based RPG games are dead. However, that was obviously proven wrong.
Baldur's Gate 3 was like it being a turn-based game was, I think, crucial to its success. But like, that's like, you know, you get a pizza and you ever get like a pizza and there's like a slice of the pizza that's like kind of small and it's like, yeah, we're gonna give that to the person who like only paid $1 for this pizza. Yeah, well, that's like the turn-based slice of Baldur's Gate 3. I don't think that's the main reason why it's successful. I think that obviously if it wasn't turn-based, it would have a lot of problems, and yeah, sure, but it's also the fact that they had like state-of-the-art character rigging. Like, the dialogue was immaculate. The game possibly...
Wasn't this game in early access? Like, maybe I'm wrong. From what I understand, this game was in early access for a long time. People had the opportunity to play it. Word of mouth got around. It's based on Dungeons and Dragons. People like Dungeons and Dragons, and they came together, basically handshaked on that, and just blew this game up. Bro, and then they're also asking for certain things to be added in the game, so it's like this is more of a direct to consumer game because gamers are actually voicing their opinion on what they want in the game because they already know what's being made.
Abilities were seemingly endless. That's why the game was really good. It being turn-based is like just, again, a secondary effect.
In a year in which
it's
2023,
one piece of pizza.
All the games of the year, the Game of the Year nominees, the best games, all the games that were the most purchased last year, none of them were live service. Heck, most of them didn't even have multiplayer.
To be honest,
that is not true. Spider-Man at this particular time doesn't have any additional like game modes at this time, but it is a live service game. They're going to add DLC to that game. And then Zelda, I guess that could be a live service. I don't play Nintendo games. I don't know if that's going to have a DLC, but it's possible. And if that is, then you're wrong again. Baldur's Gate probably will have DLC as well. They'll probably add on more content into the game, and it will turn into a live service game. So you're wrong again.
Honest, I actually think that live service games don't get enough respect. I think that it's kind of annoying to me that a game like Alan Wake 2, which is like, it's a nice game, sure, but like, bro, Fortnite. This game is servicing, like, this game is fucking massive. It's reinvented itself so many times. And it's like, I wish that there was more acknowledgement for live service games that are really good.
It's just disappointing. It really is. And it really just comes down to the fact that you have people that are in charge that are appealing to investors, but have no idea anything about the industry itself. They're just trying to trend chase and follow everybody else. And the worst part is that since they're doing it now, they're starting a leg behind already. If they started developing this game in 6, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, something like that, well, if that's the case, the trends have already changed by the time that game gets released. You're not going to be able to make the next Fortnite because...
True, but 10 years ago, Baldur's Gate 3 would have kicked ass. 10 years from now, Baldur's Gate 3 will kick ass. Same thing with Elden Ring. Good games are timeless. Look at Vampire Survivors, Grand Theft Auto 6. This is only a problem because developers are not following a passion. They are following a trend. This is like, hey, we're going to make the popular new type of game.
Fortnite's already been out for that entire time that you were making that game in the first place.
This is not a Fortnite game. This is, oh my God, bro. I'm so sick of this argument, bro. it's not even the same thing, but okay.
What these companies need to do is they need to start looking
No,
to the
I did
future.
mean Grand Theft Auto 6, by the way. I did. What I meant is, like, if they released Grand Theft Auto 6 5 years ago or 5 years from now, it wouldn't matter. It'll still be just as successful if it's a good game. Like, the current market doesn't matter.
Bro, like, and this is what I just thought of, right? Take GTA 5, right? That's basically a live service game like that everyone compares it to. I think that's the closest comparison that you could really say because it has a story mode and then it has an online component. Now, that's what people really asked for in the beginning. People wanted to be able to play with friends online. People have been asking for the ability to play as Batman and Robin together. So when we get this game and people are asking for um like an online component and we get it, but it's the Suicide Squad, yeah, it sucks that we didn't get exactly what we want, but this is still what we wanted.
Sure, they need to start to predict trends rather than chase them.
Yeah.
Because the only thing that you're going to do as a result is you're going to lose your fans. You're going to disappoint the audience as you.
Like, let's take Gotham Knights. If Rocksteady had developed that game and it was like it had Arkham Combat in it, no one would be complaining. Everyone would be like blowing their loads on that game because that game would be selling like crazy.
You've already captured, and you're probably going to ruin your studios at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And this is something that we've seen across the industry for quite a while now. And I've been scratching my head thinking to myself, looking at some of the games that have come out over the last couple of years, and I'm like, who are you making this for?
Yeah, why?
Look at the Gollum game. Who was that for? Redfall. Who was that for?
I think that the problem is that a lot of the people that are making decisions on like where to invest money into making games don't play video games enough to have their finger on the pulse of like what gamers want. And I think that what they do instead is they just rely on looking at which games are trending and then trying to move in that direction to hedge their bets. They're not actually making a decision based off of like being a gamer. They're making a decision based off of looking at a graph.
Kong game. What are you doing? It's like people in charge don't realize or know who they're selling to.
Yeah.
They don't have a face. They're not putting a face to the audience. I'm going to give you guys an odd example. So when I first started YouTube, I started a little podcast channel with me and my buddy, and we just talked about games. And the YouTube channel never got any traction.
Yeah.
Nobody ever really came to watch it. 1 or 2 or 3 people every once in a while would come by. And then one day I just woke up and thought to myself, you know, looking at other podcasts, people watch podcasts because they're people of authority or they're famous. And me and my friend were neither. So then what I did is that I just started making videos because
This is a big thing that a lot of streamers do too. Is that one of the big mistakes that I see streamers make is they focus all the time on like trying to follow a trend or doing what people that are popular do. And that's just usually not what you should do. Like sometimes it is, but usually it's not. And they also do what they want to do. Like I think streaming is like the best example of it's a very healthy thing to sometimes treat streaming like a job. And it's also
I'm just gonna speed this through because this has really nothing to do with me or the game.
a very healthy thing to sometimes treat streaming like a hobby or a passion. And like, for example, there are days that maybe I might not want to go over something, I might not want to do something, but I know people really want to see that. And so I say, fuck it. I'm not going to do what I want to do. I'm going to do what everybody else wants to see today, and I'm going to try to make them happy. And other days, I think to myself, well, you know what? I want to do this for myself. I'm going to do that. But there's a lot of people who it's like, they try to become streamers, and they just do the same thing that they do if they weren't streaming. And that's just not how it works, guys. And this is the same thing I see with YouTube channels. They're like, why am I not successful? Well, the reason why you're not successful is you're playing, some dead game with like no camera and you're not talking to the chat. It's like, well, yeah, but I'm streaming though. Well, like, what the fuck is this? Yeah, chasing the meta. Yeah, exactly. Bad content, man. Always bad content. That's the point of streaming. You don't feel like that person is working or being pushed to be in front of the camera. Well, no, I don't even think this is true. I'll read your comment again just so people can hear it. The point of streaming, you don't want to feel like And I could go and do that, and it would be fine, and people would like that. But sometimes I take what I would want to do, and I say, I will do what people want to do today, or I'll meet some.
But you're making.
Well, the difference is that he's providing value. Like, this video provides value because it's an analysis on why a game isn't popular. Now, maybe not every single person likes this particular video, but there are a lot of people who do. And then they'll give you money. It doesn't matter.
Face to that audience and understand who that audience is before you can ever even think about trying to sell them anything.
Yeah.
The worst part is that many of these studios have forgotten our faces. They only see the dollars.
That's that's complete bullshit, bro. I mean, yeah, they're probably saying dollars like, oh, this person's $5, this person's $2, but I mean, every studio looks at you that way. Even the sweethearts like CD Projekt Red. So, what's your point here?
And over the next few years, we're going to see that many of these studios, especially the AAA ones, while they will still be profitable, you're going to start to see some of these outliers pop up, these AA and single A studios that are going to start stealing away a lot of their money because they're the ones that are way ahead of the trends. They ain't chasing.
Well, they're not chasing the trends because they're the ones that make the trends. You're going to see a lot of...
All right, I'm not talking about this any further, or watching this video any further, because that last half was nothing. But yeah, to just sum it up, these dudes don't know what they're talking about. This game is based off a IP that is made by WB. So where's the audience? It's the people who watch DC movies, play the games, etc. Why are they making this game? They should be continue making Batman games. Why can't they make a different game? Naughty Dog makes different games. They go from making Uncharted to Last of Us to Jack and Daxter. But Rocksteady, if they decide to spin off a game from a already established franchise, people get upset. Fortnite, actually, when I think about it, they were making Gears. I believe the studio head was making Gears, and then they switched over to Fortnite. Bungie switched from Halo to Destiny. The team at Avalanche that made Hogwarts Legacy, they were doing Disney games like Disney Infinity, if anyone remembers that. They were making those games, and now they're making a AAA game. What is wrong with a studio switching it up? What is wrong with having creativity? When you bring up Redfall, it's not that it's not creative, because it's a very interesting type game, but the problem is that, I don't know if it's Microsoft whenever they buy a freaking studio, but the game was very buggy. It didn't have all the things that it needed to have, and when it released, they expected us to play that bullshit. And when it's finished, when we finish playing it, we'll just wait for them to update and fix all the bugs. That's the problem there. When you look at Spider-Man from Insomniac, they are going from Spider-Man to Ratchet and Clank, and then previously before that, it was Sunset Overdrive. They were making different types of games. Why can't studios make different games? That doesn't make any sense. It's a dumb argument. And you only see people who are just blindsided by the idea that this game is not what they wanted just say this stuff. Like, I am not disputing that this is not a game that people originally asked for. I wanted a Superman game, but this is what we got, and I'm gonna play it and I'm gonna try it out. And if it's absolute dog shit, like let's say halfway through the game, it starts to become woke, it starts to become boring, it becomes repetitive, and I can't stand it. Like if that happens, I'm gonna say, like, first off, I was wrong. I would say it, but at this particular time, from what I played from the alpha, this game is fun. And what I've heard and seen from trailers is that the story is funny. So This is not a bad game. It's only bad because people want to push that narrative because they haven't played it and they look at it and it looks bad and they wanted a Batman game. I I don't know what else to say about this. Like, I have to keep bringing this up because it's just so common that you see these videos blow up about how this game is going to fail. How this is going to be the end of Rocksteady. This game is not Avengers. Avengers, when you look at it, Avengers couldn't be profitable. It's a licensed property. Like Square Enix had to buy the license from Marvel and Disney, and then once they got the license, based on what we're seeing with Insomniac and Spider-Man, they had to make a certain amount of money back to get that to be profitable or to keep the license, to be fair, to start up from there. And then when they are profitable, they have to make sure that they are able to continue the same service, like make it more interesting. They weren't really able to do that. That's the problem with Marvel's Avengers. If you look at Guardians of the Galaxy, I think that game was probably more profitable when it comes down to it because the license was probably cheaper than Avengers. And then in addition to that, you're getting more fanfare from that. And there's no servers involved in this game. So the chances of you making your money back is a lot higher than that game. When you look at Suicide Squad, it's going to make its money back because there's no license involved. It's just a base level game that you can play, you buy into, and you could buy it at the exact cost or you could buy it at 50% off, whatever. And then after that, if there's additional content you buy into, it's going to make its money back from that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to make another video on this subject probably tomorrow because they're doing an endgame content, and we'll discuss that later. But thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe.